Okay, hey, we are
Hey.
we are here with SheHopes, or otherwise known as Sandra, and Darlie Jameson, winners of the Watty Awards on from at WhatCon this past November 19th. How are you guys doing? How are you feeling to be winners?
Good, very good.
Yeah, very
Happy to be
surreal.
Did you guys have spent like a lot of time working on your stories, and I know the path to the Wattys is a pretty long one. And some people have actually entered several years before. Was this your first time entering these books to the Wattys, Sandra?
Oh, for me, this was the first. I wrote the story recently, so this was my first time submitting it for the Wattys this year.
Okay, yeah, that one is Good Witch, Bad Alpha.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
silly name.
What's the subtitle here? Is a not so cozy mystery?
Right. I originally wanted to write a cozy mystery, but I wanted to kind of put my own spin on it, and so it just became a not so cozy mystery because typically cozy mysteries are very, I won't say all of them, but a majority of them are very conservative, and mine's very silly. So not so cozy.
Well, silly is always a good thing, right? You can't beat it.
Mhm.
Okay, and what about you, Darlie? You have you won for Sweet Deadly Lies.
Yes, that was one I had recently finished, and it was the first time I had entered it.
Okay, so did you edit as you went, or did you have like a whole edit plan? Because a lot of
Mm,
people they will go and they will take the first draft and dump it for the Wattys because they're so excited about entering, and because Wattys is like the biggest event for Wattpad. So what was your editing process like?
I edit as I go, and then I usually will, maybe go back periodically and make tweaks. But that's the only way I know how to do it. So I don't know that I'm very good at revising. I've never really had to do that. So to like go back and rewrite a story, uh, foreign to me. So yeah, I just edit as I go.
What about you, Sandra? I keep
Uh,
wanting
I
to hope, so please please forgive me.
no, I try to edit as I go. I write by the seat of my pants. I'm laughing because I know I need to be editing more. But what I submitted to the Wattys, I was one of those that I was just, yeah, let me turn it in. And so that was my original first draft. Although I do plan to go back and kind of make some revisions as I go.
So well,
Certain.
we all have different writing styles, but this is definitely not your first novel. What's the count for this one, Sandra?
I have so many. It's not even. I have so many. Like I've been on Wattpad since 2014, I think. So I have tons of stories. A majority, like half of them are archived now,
13.
and I think I have. Do I have 13? I don't know. I think might have 13 that are up right now. But I'm telling you, I probably have like a bajillion in my archives that I posted, and then I had them up, and then I took them down. Yeah, Darlie.
Yeah, Darlie, how many? What about you? This you've got quite a few stories.
I do. A lot of them are short stories, like just like one chapter for different like promotions and contests and things like that. But I think that I think Sweet Deadly Lies is maybe my ninth either novel length or novella length story posted.
Right, so definitely not your first go.
Not my first. No.
Okay, well, it does take quite a bit of work. So I'm going to read from the synopsis now so that everyone can get on the same page about what these stories are about. So, Good Witch, Bad Alpha, Not So Cozy Mystery by Sandra or She Hopes. Rowena Flores has problems, and we're not just talking about her anger management issues. After cursing her cheating ex boyfriend, this grocery cashier's life is turned upside down when a pack of werewolf shifters accuse her of being a murdering witch. Will Rowena ever prove she's not a witch? Will the hunky pack alpha ask her out? More importantly, will she clear her name before she's burned at the stake? Not So Cozy Mystery Series. This is actually book one, and there's book two, Never Cheat a Witch, book three and four. Oh, shift! It sounds like so much fun.
Sorry.
It sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's a ton of fun, guys. I don't know what you're waiting for. No, it's like I'm telling you, it's my own spin on it. It's very silly. It's a cozy mystery, but it's paranormal because there's werewolf shifters, there's witches, and my main character is just a trip. She has anger management issues, and she's not afraid to like let her crazy flag fly. So
And it's
it's
pretty
fun.
funny as well. You have a great sense of humor.
I hope so. I hope that comes across the page
Well, I
anyway.
absolutely love your chapter titles. Have you ever considered manscaping? Chapter 2, Are You a Good Witch or a Bad Witch? Chapter 3, She Doesn't Like Stale Muffins. It's definitely telling a lot about your humor just immediately. So, do you think setting up the chapter titles in such a way helps to get readers into the mindset of what your story is going to be like?
I do. I think it sets the tone for, or the vibe, I should say, for the story because, I mean, I used to write a lot of horror, like straight up horror, and then I kind of segued into mystery thriller. And I took a break from Wattpad. So when I came back, I really wanted to do something that was very like light and fun. So that's how I ended up writing this one. And I've noticed such a difference between when I wrote then and the readers that I had back when I would write darker stories as opposed to when I wrote this one. And I found that when you're writing humor, and now that I'm writing book two, I've noticed it too, that they really do get a kick out of the title names. So I was originally trying to pull stuff specifically from the chapter, and now it's kind of just, if it kind of describes the chapter, that's my title. And I found that readers do like that.
Okay, and what about you, Darlie? Your work is a little bit darker, the
Mhm.
dark academia, sweet deadly lies. What's your experience with your chapter titles and setting up your readers for what's coming?
I think I've only titled chapters in one story, and that was the more lighthearted kind of story. I don't know that they really fit with what I'm writing now. Although I look at other people's chapter titles, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that, but it doesn't fit. I don't think with what I'm doing right now, which is more young adult kind of dark stories, mystery thriller. Right now, I'm writing sort of a horror, historical horror, but yeah, I just don't feel like the chapter titles would fit as well with those.
Yeah, I hear you. I've come from horror as well. I'm actually writing a horror novel, and uh, I do comedy horror, and I have a lot more fun with the titles in the horror comedy than the horror. So the simple title is just one, chapter two, chapter three. It tends to work.
Yeah.
So I'm going
Yeah.
to read the synopsis of Sweet Deadly Lies. Um, So, okay, so it's a Watty Award winner. I'm reading directly from Wattpad here, by the way. Uh, when Mia Greenlee's older sister Ava dies under mysterious circumstances, she's determined to uncover the truth, no matter how many rules she has to break. But when she enrolls at her elite New England boarding school, possible suspects reveal themselves at every turn, messing with her head and agitating her deep rooted trust issues. With the help of Xander, an attractive yet aloof art student, Mia exposes secrets that may have played a role in Ava's death. Someone knows more than they're letting on, and if Mia can't put the pieces together, she may end up like her sister, dead.
It's so funny to hear someone else read it.
Well, it's I was fun to hear someone else in the epic movie voice.
I loved it.
So, how long have you been writing the story? You just finished it, but how long did it take you to actually go through it?
Mm, I think I started, gosh, I think it was like October, the beginning of October 2021. And I don't know if I finished maybe in the springtime of this year. Sounds about right. It's a little bit shorter than my other stories, which is good. I think it came in under 70,000 words, and I was really trying to keep it on the shorter side because my last couple of stories ended up much longer than I had intended.
What about you, Sandra? How long did it take you to write?
I don't remember. I think I started writing mine around the same time you started writing yours, Darlie. Because no, I don't remember. Honestly, I'm sorry. I'm such a bad person. Like I don't remember, Rodney. I'm sorry. I'm telling you, I just wrote it, and the thing with I feel like when you're really into a story, and I know Wattpad has rules. Like Darlie, you remind me like we should only update a certain days or what have you, but when you're really into a story, I'm like, let me update again. So I feel like I got through the story fairly quickly, but I couldn't tell you how long it took me to write it.
Well, I ask that usually because some people could take up to a year to complete a story, and like posting on a weekly basis. If you have like 30 chapters, that's like half a year. But then others can write like really, really fast and like utilize like writer's sprints, for instance, to get
Hmm.
a lot of words. So I'm just trying to get like an idea of how long it takes, especially for a Watty award-winning story. Um, okay, so moving on, is there any like advice that you can give about writing your story and framing it? Like, is there any particular thing that you did while writing to say improve your chances at a Waddy? Because this is like the big question that a lot of people have. Like, how do I win a Waddy? What advice can you give, Darlie?
Well, now when I first started on Wattpad, I never outlined or plotted or even took notes on my characters. I just sat down and wrote a story on Wattpad and then just posted it. And now I can't even imagine going about it that way. So now I think having some kind of outline to varying degrees, you can do like a loose outline or even go as far as making chapter outlines, and I think that's helpful because you can kind of see on paper or on screen how the story is going to come together, um, before as you're writing it, I guess. And so I think having a plan is really good. But I know some people don't work that way, and I agree. It is more fun to not have a plan. So like when I'm writing offline, I might do more of that just to see where the story goes on its own, because I do think that I like the surprises that pop up, and I do try to the stories that I post as I go. I have like a loose outline, and I try to leave some wiggle room for surprises, because those are always fun. To things you don't see coming. I still like telling the story to myself as much as I like telling the story to other people. But yeah, I think a plan and like getting like immediately to like the heart of the story is important. Like, don't make the reader wait too long to know what the story is going to be about.
Okay, Sandra.
I think having some sort of outline is really, really important. I've said this before, like I tend to pants things, and I always end up writing myself in a corner when I do that. I know for this particular story, I know, and I usually with most stories that I write, I know what my major twists are going to be, and I know who my bad people are going to be, who my good people are going to be, and I always try to have a few twists in there just because. So I like to have right before the last chapter, I want everyone to think, "Oh, this is it," and then the very last chapter, I turn it around on them. So I always have that ready. This particular story, I did have a loose outline, and I had it. What's weird this story too. I always had like I had two worksheets up on my computer, so my full draft, and then I would always have something like notes up the side. So as I was, because sometimes, like Darlie was saying, you write stuff and then you have a really good idea and you're like, oh my gosh, this is great, but it may not necessarily fit into the outline you already have. So then I have to make notes reminding myself, or I don't know, Rodney, if you do this because you write horror as well, but like sometimes if there's something like a particular red herring or something, I want to make sure I get it into certain chapters. So I'll make notes too of that because I don't want to miss that, because you never want at the end of a story readers to be like, hey, this came out of nowhere. You have to kind of leave those seeds. So that's what I tend to do, and what I did with this particular story too.
Yeah, I've done that with a couple of red herrings, but the thing is, I've like discovered it later in the book, and then I just have to like, take an overview and go and look at it and go like, where would be a good place to put this before? And then you just go and you just pop it in, but it's like you're building the story as you go. So,
Hmm.
yeah, but having the outline is so important. Okay, did you guys get to go to the Wacky Awards? Sorry, to WhatCon, or was
Not in. I was planning to, and then it didn't work out, but I attended virtually.
and
Same.
same?
I attended virtually. I wasn't planning on going, but I did. I did attend virtually.
Well, they did have a pretty good show virtually, so it was so nice to have everyone back together and just be caught up in some of that excitement. Are you do you have any hopes for entering a new story next year?
I hope to. I'm writing right now. I'm writing a young adult, like gothic historical horror kind of story, and yes, I am hoping to enter it next year.
What's on your plate, Sandra?
I'm working on my not so cozy series, but I also have a horror that I'm working on that I'm like literally trying to rework right now to fit, because I've had this idea in my head for years. And you know, when you write something and you're like, oh, I'm just not doing it justice. That's how I feel about this story. It's my, but I'm gonna get it done and I'm gonna submit it,
Well,
putting it out in the universe.
the Watties have opened up the road to sequels, and you have a couple sequels there.
I
I'm
do.
just putting it out there. Go for it.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's plans, but what are you currently working? What are you currently working on, Sandra?
I'm I don't know. Well, I say I don't know, but I feel like we're always working on a ton of stories at once. We're always working on a ton of stories at once, but physically what's on Wattpad for me, I have three ongoing stories. My Nano, which I've been failing at, but my Nano, which is like a that was my version of a Korean drama. Y'all don't understand. I was so excited about it because I love Korean dramas. So this is gonna be my version. Okay, it's just hasn't been working out for me, but I'm gonna finish it because I have it all outlined, ready to go. I just need to type it up. And then I'm working on my sequel for Good Witch Bad Alpha, and then my horror story.
Darlie, what's your current WIP?
My historical horror is called Of the Blood, and I would say I'm maybe coming around the halfway through mark, maybe. So I'm working on that, and then I also started something for Nano. It's a sequel of sorts. It's from my romance that I had written several years ago called Strawberry Wine. So it's in that same world, and I am also failing at Nano, but I'm just gonna keep plugging away at it, and it'll get done.
I think we are all going out to fail at Nano at some point.
We
Are,
tried.
are you participating this year?
I'm sorry.
Is either of you taking part in Nano this year?
Uh, this year, well, yeah, but I'm not doing so well.
Yeah. Well,
Same, same.
that will happen. I'd started as well, but with the with the whole WatCon going on and everything, I just made the quick decision that it was not for me this year.
Yeah, but at least it's just another story started, and it will be finished eventually, just not by the end of the month.
Okay. Okay. So let's just go back to any advice that you can give to the young writers out there who are now coming out, and they're excited about getting on Wattpad and getting their work out there and possibly winning Wattys. What's the best piece of advice you can give? Start with
Mine would start writing and engage with the community, read other stories, especially in your genre, to see what other authors are doing, but also engaging with those authors in their comments. Sometimes the authors will check you out, and I think I have found that the commenters of that story oftentimes check you out just by reading your comments, and then like being open to feedback and it's all, I mean, we're all, it's a learning process, and no matter how many years you've been writing, there's always something new to learn, and improving your craft. So I would say just get out, put yourself out there, and mingle with the community and network, and be open to feedback, and just keep writing.
Sandra, any words of advice?
What Darlie said was great. I second that for sure, for sure. I would also just tell everyone that when you start writing on Wattpad, don't feel like you're a failure because you don't have a bajillion reads right off the bat. And I say this because I know it can feel defeating if you don't, or if you're like, man, no one's even reading my story. I don't know why I should finish. But don't do that to yourself. Go ahead and continue writing, especially if it's a story that you enjoy writing, because eventually the right people are going to come across it and they're going to love it, because if you loved writing it, that will come through. But don't give up. Like, don't stop writing just because you feel like no one's hearing you out. Like Darlie said, if you start reading other people's stories, that's probably, people forget that Wattpad is a social, or it used to be, I think it still is, it's a social site. And it's a good way to connect with other people, and that's how you find readers. So don't give up.
Well, we are trying to bring back a lot of the social aspect with Writers Connect. So I found it's a great way for the writers to actually meet each other and find out what we're all doing. So we're just trying to help support your writers, especially going into the Wattys, because it can be a little bit daunting, but most of all, it can be exciting. Okay, so the books again are Good Witch, Bad Alpha by SheHopes, and you should definitely go and check it out on Wattpad, wattpad.com, and you should be able to find it right on the front page within the whole list of Wattys winners. And we have from Darlie Jameson, known as Monrosey on the site, Sweet Deadly Lies. You had another book, and I absolutely love the title of this book, Emma That Is Dead. It's like my
Yeah.
favorite title of the entire
Uh,
selection of shortlisters. So I just wanted to
yeah.
get that in there, and people should
Thank.
definitely check that out as well.
I love that story.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of really good stories that made the shortlist this year that you should check out. So go to Wattpad and look up the Wattys, and you can find over I believe it's over 100 stories that made the shortlist, and there's some really good ones. So definitely go check them out. Once again, thank you for joining us. Where can people find you on social media?
Oh, I'm Darlie Jameson everywhere but on Wattpad. On Wattpad, I am Monrosey.
And Sandra, you are SheHopes everywhere as well?
I'm only SheHopes on Wattpad, but everywhere else I'm SheHopes 101.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Okay, well, we'll have some more interviews coming tomorrow, so make sure to check them out. But thank you for joining us, and I hope you have some good insight on the Wattys, and I feel excited for our winners.